Stop throwing away your banana peels and stop treating bananas like they're just a convenient snack. What I'm about to share with you today has the potential to completely change how you age. And I say that as a person who has spent decades watching patients struggle with problems that a simple, humble fruit could have helped prevent. The conventional wisdom says bananas are too sugary, too starchy, too basic to matter. But I'm going to prove that the conventional wisdom is wrong. Researchers recently found that individuals who consumed potassium-rich foods, and bananas are among the richest sources on the planet, had a 27% lower risk of cardiovascular mortality compared to those with low potassium intake. 27%, that is not a small number. That is the difference between a life cut short and a life fully lived. Now, I want to tease something for you right now, because if you stay until the very end of this video, I'm going to reveal the number one benefit of eating one banana every day, and it has nothing to do with potassium, nothing to do with energy, and it will absolutely surprise you. In fact, when I share it with some of my patients, they genuinely don't believe me at first. So, stay with me, because that one is worth waiting for. Today, we are counting down from number 6 all the way to number 1. The 6 most powerful things that happen to your body when you eat just one banana every single day. These are ranked from impressive to absolutely extraordinary. Let's begin. Number 6, supporting your digestive health. After the age of 55, your gut motility, meaning the ability of your intestinal muscles to move food through your digestive tract, slows down by as much as 40%. That means constipation, bloating, poor nutrient absorption, and a cascade of inflammatory signals that ripple outward from your gut into your joints, your brain, and your heart. The gut, as we now understand it in modern medicine, is not just a tube that processes food. It is the command center of your immune system and a direct communicator with your brain through what scientists call the gut-brain axis. One banana every day delivers approximately 3 g of dietary fiber, a combination of both soluble and insoluble fiber that works in 2 completely distinct and complementary ways. Think of insoluble fiber like a broom. It physically sweeps waste through your colon, keeping transit time short and reducing your exposure to harmful compounds that, when left too long in the colon, can increase cellular mutation risk. Soluble fiber, on the other hand, acts more like a sponge, absorbing water and forming a gel that slows the absorption of sugar and cholesterol into your bloodstream. This dual-action fiber system is particularly critical for aging bodies because the gut microbiome, the community of trillions of bacteria living inside you, becomes significantly less diverse after the age of 70. A study from University College Cork found that elderly individuals with lower microbiome diversity had higher rates of frailty, inflammation, and cognitive decline compared to those with richer microbial communities. Bananas, particularly those that are slightly ripe, still a little green at the tips, contain something called resistant starch. This is a special type of carbohydrate that your digestive enzymes cannot break down, which means it travels intact to your colon, where it becomes food for your beneficial gut bacteria. It literally feeds the good organisms inside you that regulate everything from your mood to your immunity to your metabolism. The practical tip here is simple. Eat your banana in the morning with your breakfast and choose one that still has a slight green hue rather than fully ripe. You can pair it with a tablespoon of plain Greek yogurt to introduce live cultures alongside the resistant starch. That combination is very strong for rebuilding gut diversity. If you've been on antibiotics recently, this combination becomes even more important because antibiotics wipe out your gut bacteria in an uneven way, and resistant starch gives the surviving beneficial organisms the fuel they need to grow again. Number 5, cardiovascular and muscular protection. Number 5 on our countdown is the cardiovascular and muscular protection that comes from the high potassium content in a single banana. One medium banana contains approximately 422 mg of potassium, which represents roughly 20% of the daily recommended intake for older adults. Now, that might not sound like a dramatic figure until I tell you this. The vast majority of adults over the age of 60 are chronically potassium deficient. Not mildly deficient, chronically deficient, and the consequences of that deficiency are serious. Potassium is what scientists call an electrolyte, a mineral that carries an electrical charge inside your cells. Think of it as the electrical wiring of your body. Every single heartbeat is coordinated by a precise exchange of potassium and sodium across the membrane of your heart muscle cells. When potassium levels fall too low, that electrical signaling becomes erratic and the heart can develop dangerous rhythms. A landmark analysis published in the Journal of the American College of Cardiology examined data from over 247 Zalozan patients and found that low potassium levels were independently associated with a 20% increased risk of stroke and a significant increase in the risk of atrial fibrillation, the most common heart rhythm disorder in people over 65. But the muscular impact of potassium goes beyond the heart. After the age of 70, a condition called sarcopenia, which means age-related loss of muscle mass, accelerates. Your body loses roughly 1 to 2% of muscle mass every year after 65. And this is not just about strength. Muscle mass is directly tied to metabolic rate, bone density, balance, and independence. When your muscles cramp, when they fatigue quickly, when they fail to respond with the power and reliability they once had, low potassium is often part of that picture. The reason older adults are so vulnerable to potassium deficiency is linked to multiple factors. Many blood pressure medications, especially diuretics, flush potassium out through the kidneys faster than the body can replace it. Number 4, brain health support. Number 4 is the support that a daily banana offers your aging brain, and the mechanism behind it is one of the most studied areas in neuroscience right now. The brain, which makes up only about 2% of your body weight, uses approximately 20% of your total energy. It is the most energy-demanding organ in the human body. After the age of 60, the brain's ability to efficiently use glucose, its main fuel source, begins to decline. This is described by researchers at Harvard Medical School as a form of cerebral insulin resistance. This leaves brain cells with less usable energy, even when blood sugar levels are normal. The result over years is cognitive fog, memory lapses, and mental fatigue that many older adults report as one of the most difficult parts of aging. Bananas contain vitamin B6, also known as pyridoxine, with a single banana delivering approximately 20 to 25% of the daily recommended intake for adults over 60. Here is why this matters for the brain. Vitamin B6 is an essential cofactor in the production of 3 key neurotransmitters: serotonin, dopamine, and GABA. Neurotransmitters are chemical messengers that brain cells use to communicate. Serotonin supports mood balance and sleep quality. Dopamine supports motivation, reward, and movement control. GABA acts as the brain's calming signal. Beyond B6, bananas contain tryptophan, an amino acid that is a direct building block for serotonin production. This is why some people feel calmer after eating a banana in the afternoon or evening. After 75, sleep patterns change. Deep sleep stages become shorter and more broken, which affects memory, immunity, and heart health. Anything that supports natural serotonin production without medication is useful for older adults. Number 3, help with long-term inflammation. Number 3 is the one that gets strong reactions when I explain it to patients, because this benefit connects to something that affects the quality of life of almost every person over the age of 65. Yet it is rarely discussed in relation to something as simple as a banana. Long-term inflammation is a constant internal state that contributes to arthritis, cardiovascular disease, cognitive decline, diabetes, and even cancer. Chronic low-grade inflammation is, in the view of many leading researchers, including those at the Buck Institute for Research on Aging, the single most important biological driver of accelerated aging. Scientists have even coined a term for it, inflammation. The chronic smoldering state of immune activation that becomes increasingly common after the age of 60 and that contributes to virtually every major age-related disease simultaneously. After 65, your body's regulatory mechanisms for controlling inflammation become less precise, and the immune system begins to generate inflammatory signals even in the absence of actual threats. This is partially driven by a decline in compounds called short-chain fatty acids, and here is where the banana's resistant starch becomes relevant once again. When the beneficial bacteria in your colon ferment the resistant starch from bananas, one of the primary byproducts of that fermentation is a short-chain fatty acid called butyrate. Butyrate is one of the most powerful anti-inflammatory compounds produced anywhere in the human body. It directly inhibits the activation of NF-kappa. a molecular switch inside your cells that, when left unchecked, turns on hundreds of genes associated with inflammation, cellular aging, and tumor development. Researchers at the Salk Institute in California demonstrated that butyrate could extend the healthy lifespan of cells in laboratory models by suppressing this inflammatory cascade, and subsequent human studies have connected higher butyrate production to lower levels of C-reactive protein, the primary blood marker of systemic inflammation. But bananas offer an additional anti-inflammatory pathway through their dopamine and catechin content. Yes, bananas contain dopamine, not the neurotransmitter form that affects your brain directly, but the antioxidant form, which travels through your bloodstream as a strong free radical scavenger. A study from the Food Science and Technology Research Institute found that the antioxidant capacity of bananas was comparable to many foods conventionally celebrated as superfoods, with the combination of dopamine and catechins providing measurable protection against lipid oxidation, the process by which cholesterol molecules become damaged and begin to accumulate in arterial walls. Number 2, blood sugar regulation. Number 2 on our countdown is the benefit that in my clinical experience shocks my patients more than anything else, because it fundamentally changes the way we think about this fruit and its relationship to metabolic health. I'm talking about blood sugar regulation, and before you switch off because you assume bananas raise blood sugar, please stay with me because the science here is far more nuanced and far more hopeful than you have been led to believe. Yes, ripe bananas contain natural sugars. A fully ripe banana has a glycemic index of approximately 51, which is actually in the low to medium range, lower than white bread, lower than white rice, lower than most breakfast cereals that are aggressively marketed as heart healthy. But the crucial variable that almost nobody discusses is the glycemic load, which accounts for the actual quantity of carbohydrates in a serving and how quickly they enter the bloodstream. A single medium banana has a glycemic load of approximately 11, a figure that most metabolic researchers would categorize as moderate and entirely manageable for the vast majority of adults, including those with prediabetes, when consumed as part of a balanced meal or snack. More importantly, as I mentioned in our discussion of gut health, the resistant starch in slightly under ripe bananas fundamentally changes the metabolic equation. Resistant starch is not digested in the small intestine. It does not trigger insulin release. It does not spike blood glucose. In fact, a study published in the journal Nutrition and Metabolism demonstrated that consuming resistant starch improved insulin sensitivity in adults with metabolic syndrome by an average of 33% over just 8 weeks. This is critically important for older adults because after the age of 60, insulin sensitivity declines steadily due to a combination of reduced muscle mass, decreased physical activity, mitochondrial dysfunction, the mitochondria being the tiny energy factories inside your cells, and chronic low-grade inflammation. The more muscle you lose to sarcopenia, the less glucose can be stored efficiently and the more stress is placed on the pancreas to produce insulin. It becomes a degenerative cycle. The banana, consumed slightly underripe and paired with a protein source, can interrupt that cycle. The fiber and resistant starch slow gastric emptying, meaning food leaves your stomach more slowly, which flattens the blood sugar curve after eating rather than creating a spike and subsequent crash. A study at the University of Toronto, published in Diabetes Care, found that combining resistant starch with lean protein reduced post-meal blood glucose elevation by up to 29% compared to equivalent meals without resistant starch. This is not a marginal difference. For a person managing pre-diabetes or type 2 diabetes, that 29% reduction translates to less glycemic stress on blood vessels, kidneys, and nerves over the course of years and decades. And now here it is. Number 1, the benefit of eating one banana every day that I promised would surprise you has nothing to do with potassium, nothing to do with energy, and that I tell you from personal experience as a physician causes more visible astonishment in my patients than any other piece of nutritional information I share. Number 1, musculoskeletal system. Number 1 is the strong and measurable protection that daily banana consumption provides to your musculoskeletal system through a mechanism most doctors have never even discussed with their patients. That mechanism is the optimization of magnesium-dependent protein synthesis for the preservation of bone density and muscle integrity in aging bodies. Here is the science, and I want you to pay close attention because this is genuinely extraordinary. A single banana contains approximately 32 mg of magnesium. That number alone is not the main point. The main point is what magnesium does at the cellular level for people over the age of 65, specifically in the context of a phenomenon called anabolic resistance. Anabolic resistance is the scientific term for the age-related decline in your body's ability to build and repair muscle tissue in response to protein consumption and physical activity. When you're 25 years old and you eat a meal rich in protein, your muscle cells respond strongly. They absorb amino acids, they synthesize new muscle proteins, they repair microdamage from exercise with high efficiency. After the age of 65, that response is reduced by approximately 35 to 40%. After 75, it declines even further. This means older adults must work significantly harder and eat more strategically to achieve the same muscle-preserving effect from exercise and protein that younger bodies achieve more easily. Magnesium is a key cofactor in over 300 enzymatic reactions in the human body, but its role in muscle protein synthesis is what I want to focus on today. Magnesium is required for the activation of insulin, like growth factor 1 or IGF-1, which is one of the main anabolic, meaning muscle-building, hormones in your body. It is required for the function of ribosomes, the tiny molecular machines inside your cells that read genetic instructions and build proteins. And it is required for the efficient production of ATP, adenosine triphosphate, the main energy source of every cell in your body. Think of ATP like the battery power that runs every cellular function. Without adequate magnesium, your cells cannot produce ATP efficiently, and without adequate ATP, muscle cells cannot perform repair or grow. The synergy tip for number 1, eat your banana alongside a palm-sized serving of wild-caught salmon or sardines. The omega-3 fatty acids in fatty fish reduce systemic inflammation, which, as discussed earlier, is a main driver of anabolic resistance. When inflammation drops, muscle cells respond better to protein and exercise. Combine that restored anabolic response with magnesium-supported ATP production, and you have a nutritional approach for preserving muscle and bone that is among the strongest available for aging adults. Pair this with even 20 minutes of resistance exercise 3 times per week, and research from Tufts University shows that this combination can reverse measurable muscle loss in adults well into their 80s. Reverse it, not just slow it. Reverse it. If today's video gave you even one piece of information that felt useful, please subscribe to this channel and click the notification bell so you never miss a new video. And I want to end with a question for the comments. Have you ever been told to avoid bananas for health reasons? What were you told and by whom? I read every comment personally. Until next time, take care of your body. It has carried you this far, and with the right information, it can carry you further.